All right, welcome to the Sharp Mind Show, episode 44. I'm Nate, the Fit Future MD, your host. Be sure to shop at insercell.com and pick you up a cool, inspirational message t-shirt today. All right, so as you know, I am a very loyal person, but when it comes to my money, you know, I have found that shopping around is way more beneficial than staying loyal to a company, right? So we have been with Geico for our insurance for probably over 10 years, right? So we're thinking like, oh yeah, Geico is the one that saves you all the money. That's what they advertise. But then we go with, and start searching around and we realize we're paying almost triple what we should be paying for insurance with Geico, right? So, well, we started doing this with everything in our lives, like insurance on the house, whatever we could find, right? So, just recently, T-Mobile purchased U.S. Cellular. Well, now U.S. Cellular has the T-Mobile network, and all of a sudden they come up with this deal where it's 4 lines for $90, right? Well, we only need 2 lines, but if you get the extra 2 lines with no phones, it's still $90, right? So, and we have, I've been with the iPhone 12 for 5 years. My wife's been with the Samsung 20 for 5 years. And, our phones are paid off and we're going to AT&T, so we have AT&T and we're going to AT&T and we're like, hey man, all these other companies are offering us free phones. What can you do? Well, for them to get us new phones, it was going to be over $200, right, for the phones that we wanted. And I'm like, you know what? We've had good experience switching from other stuff. Let's go ahead and make the switch, right? So, now how much is that going to save us, right? Well, obviously we needed new phones. Our phones are 5 years old, but that being said, to get the new phones, it was going to be over $200, and with taxes and insurance, it's $145 at U.S. Cellular, right? So we're saving, the 200s without taxes for AT&T, but so we're basically saving $55 a month by switching to U.S. Cellular, who's now owned by T-Mobile, so you're on the T-Mobile network anyway, right? So I just kind of bring this up here to say, like, test out your fixed costs, right? So, if you need a phone to work or whatever you do, don't get settled in to say, okay, this one company, especially if your phones are paid off, it's been to 2-3 years and your phones are paid off, if they're not going to give you the deal that another company is going to give you, go, take 3 or 4 hours and go price out what it would be on other phone carrier plans, especially if you live in a city. Like, all the phone carriers in a city are going to be good, right? Like, it's not, like, say you live out in the country, it's going to be a little bit different. Some areas are dominated by certain phone carriers. For example, here on the beach, Verizon, dominates that area. But now U.S. Cellular and T-Mobile also dominate that area, right? AT&T not so much. So, but we had AT&T for a long time. They would not budge on getting us free phones, so we have decided to switch, right? So keep that in mind. Um, check out your fixed costs, see where you can save. If you can save 40 or 50 bucks a month, you're talking about $600 a year as an extra paycheck a year, right, in savings. So when you go to think about life coaching, when you go to think about investing for the future or investing for financial freedom, you don't have to be a cheapskate. You just have to be, you just have to work on your budget, right? So it says, okay, you need to make some room on your budget. That may switching to other companies, so we saved over $600 switching to Progressive from Geico, and we're saving another $50 switching to US Cellular. So keep that in mind. And yes, sometimes you do make the wrong decision in switching, but don't pay extra for the same service, right? Like, make them compete on price, and if they can't compete on the price, you got to switch, right? So keep that in mind. Like I say, it's a two-sided equation. It's income and expense, right? You pay yourself first, you still got the same expense. You got, if you can bring the expenses down without having to sacrifice anything, then that's how you win, right? That's how you become financially free faster, right? So keep that in mind. Let me know what you think about switching and what companies you would switch to in the comments below. All right, this episode is brought to you by London and the Googly Goo, which is my wife's children's book. If you have nieces, nephews, or children of your own, be sure to check out London and the Googly Goo. It's got a great moral, and it will be your child's favorite book. All right, so moving on to last night, we got the Atlanta Falcons beating the Buffalo Bills 24-14. What does this say about the Buffalo Bills, and what does this say about the Atlanta Falcons? The Atlanta Falcons now are above 500. They're 3-2, right? So Atlanta Falcons got a young quarterback in Michael Penix Jr., right? When he played the Carolina Panthers, it's not like he had a bad game. His receivers had a bad game, but the Atlanta Falcons could not run the football, right? Well, against the Buffalo Bills here, you got Bijan Robinson with 19 carries, 170 yards, 6 catches for 68 yards. So he's got over 200 yards against the Buffalo Bills. So it looks like the Falcons and the Panthers are basically going to have the same strategy. Can we run the football to win? Right? Penix also, 3 for 250 yards. Got 10 receptions from Drake London, 158 yards and a touchdown, which is wild. And also, Josh Allen threw 2 picks, right? So, are the Bills not as good as they think they are, or is the Falcons better than we think they are? I think it's a mix of both, right? The Buffalo Bills defense is not as good as we think they are, right? Or, obviously, if you give up 200 yards to a running back, you can't stop the run. But other than Drake or London, like, nobody else was catching the ball. Like, you got Pitts with 3 catches. It's pretty much one-sided there. Literally one-sided as far as so I don't think the Falcons are as good as this 3-2 record. Obviously, they can run the football, but if you can stop the run, and they're, the good teams, that's what they do. They're going to stop the run, right? So they're going to make you one-dimensional. They're going to make you beat them with passing. So that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The Dirty Birds the real deal here, or did Buffalo Bills just blow it? Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right. So on to life coaching today. More life coaching today. Started off with life coaching, but so there are a lot of reasons to make financial decisions, right? And one of them is emotional decisions, right? So what emotion drives your financial decision? Is it fear, pride, or hope, right? Um, so you'll see a lot of people, they have to have the name brand thing. They have to have, nice new car. Even if they live in a trailer, they're going to be driving that Escalade. They're, they're going to be, have a BMW or, whatever. A lot of people out there live in fear when their emotional decisions, with their financial decisions, because they're just making enough to feed their family or keep the lights on, or that kind of thing. Whereas is it hope driven, where you've got everything figured out, you're financially free, and you're able to give hope to people that need things in their lives, that need stuff like that. So you got to figure out what you are, which way you are, right? So you basically, we do what's called a threshold budget, right? So we make a cap, and if we hit the cap, we stop spending money, like, period. We sit at the house, and if we got to eat beans and rice the rest of the month, that's what we'll do, right? Obviously, when you eat at the house more, you don't hit the budget as much, right? My issue, right? I love to eat out, love to love my Mexican food, love my wings, love my pizza, the whole 9 yards. But what was I going with that? But okay, so the threshold budget, and you got to figure out what you got coming in. You got to figure out what you're going out, and can we? So I talked about earlier about how you can switch companies and get cheaper prices, so that way you don't hit the threshold budget as many times, right? It's emotional intelligence, self-awareness, budgeting. So figure out what emotion is messing up your threshold budget, right? So for me, I guess it would be comfort would be what would be messing mine up, because I don't want to have to cook. I don't want to clean. Like, I just fried chicken tenders the other day because I wanted some chicken tenders, where I would have gone to Bojangles and got Supremes, right? But I fried my own chicken tenders at the house, right? Did I save money? Probably not. But it's the habits that you instill that, say, I want chicken tenders. All right, we'll make some chicken tenders, right? So let me know what you guys think. What emotion drives you, your financial decisions, and how do you plan to overcome those decisions so that you can reach your financial freedom goals, so that you can become the best that you can be, right? All right. Last thing is the quote of the day, and this inspirational quote for you guys. It says, "Sometimes life buries you. Sometimes life buries you not to kill you, but to plant you. The comeback is just germination." All right, so let's break down this quote, right? It's basically saying that sometimes you get buried in the sand so that you can sit there and germinate. You might be in a place where you're there you're meant to learn something. You're meant to, I'm sitting here like, I'm going to med school, right? I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be at the time, a well-respected career, right? Not so much anymore. But well-respected career, and all of a sudden I am walking to a beach shop, right, for a job, because I ain't got no money, trying to eat, I'm out of money, and they're not going to give me any more money, so the dream is basically over, right? And I'm sitting here like, why here? Like, what am I supposed to? Okay, so, and I look back and I'm like, well, okay, God's got me in this place. What am I supposed to learn here? Well, what did I learn? I learned that the real rich people own businesses, right? Doctors aren't rich people. The ones that own the clinic are the ones that are rich. right? And guess what? There's this big old REIT out there that owns all the clinics, right? Guess who owns that now? This guy. I own the REIT, right? So every month, all these doctors' offices are paying me, right? So, and 80% of their profits go to me, right? In the form of a dividend. And the dividend, guess what? $95,000 of that dividend are tax free, right? So I can make 95 grand a year off that dividend and not pay a single dime in taxes and not have to even lift a finger, right? So that's what I learned. I sat here and learned that, number one, that the business owners are the ones that are actually rich. Number one. Not saying that there aren't people that are entrepreneurs, right? Like Steve Wozniak was an entrepreneur, but he had equity in Apple, right? Like, or not Apple. He had equity in Microsoft, right? I think it's Microsoft. Shit, let me look before I say it wrong. Let me look before I say it wrong. Oh, Apple. Okay, co-founder of Apple. All right, but he's an entrepreneur, right? So he's co-founder of Apple. Got that confused, but anyway, he is the biggest example of what's called an entrepreneur, one of the richest men in the world that co-founded a company, was not the CEO of the company, was not the 100% owner of the company. Anyway, entrepreneur. But basically, it put me in this area to learn something. That's what I learned, right? So what's one of the first things I did? We came here in February. By August, I was starting InserSale, right? I was starting my clothing business, right? And I started with nothing, and I had nothing to lose, right? So now I got to do is make people learn and know about InserSale, and hopefully they'll like my designs, right? And hopefully you like my designs and check it out at InserSale.com. But it doesn't matter where you get planted, where you get buried, germinate in that area and learn what you're supposed to learn there, right? That's the point of this section here. So that's what I did. That's what I hope you do. I'm Nate, and I'm a life coach. If you're interested in life coaching, learn how to germinate where you're at, hit me up in the DM for life coaching or sign up in the link in the description. Shop at InserSale.com, pick up a cool inspirational t-shirt, pick up my wife's book, London and the Goo Goo, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.